Hyvää huomenta ja tervetuloa Salesforce Livein pariin. Mä oon Telion Juha ja isännöin tätä dataa ja analytiikkaan keskittyvää osiota. Meillä on tänään paljon muutakin sisältöä. Teillä on vielä mahdollisuus kuulla lisää muun muassa digitalisaatiosta, markkinoinnista ja asiakaskokemuksesta. Ja jos joku näistä jää jostain syystä näkemättä, niin älkää olko huolissanne. Te voitte nähdä sen sitten myöhemmin nauhoitettuna ja kaikki osiot tullaan nauhoittamaan. Nyt kun olette meidän kanssa kuitenkin tässä live-tilanteessa, niin olisi todella mukavaa, että jakasitte ajatuksianne paitsi meidän, niin myös muiden osallistujien kanssa. Ja se onnistuu parhaiten Salesforce Live Suomi hashtagillä erilaisissa sosiaalisen median kanavissa. Tämä sessio tosiaan keskittyy nyt sitten analytiikkaan ja dataan. Mun oma taustani on reilu 30 vuotta tähän asiaan liittyvien teknologioiden parissa, jossa ehkä viimeiset 4 vuotta Salesforcella ja nykyisellään mä vastaan Tableaulla Euroopassa niin sanotusta Solution Engineering yksikössä. Tableauhan on siis Salesforcein analytiikka-brändi. Meillä on tosi kiinnostava tarina teille. Meillä on 2 kansainvälistä vierasta. Sandor van den Brink, joka on digitaalisen myyntikokemuksen johtaja Schneider Electricilta, ja Markus Velin, joka tulee Telia Crowd Insightsilta ja kertoo myöskin äärimmäisen kiinnostavan tarinan siitä, miten he tässä ajassa hyödyntää data ja analytiikkaa todellisena osana liiketoimintaansa. Eli seuraavat 45 minuuttia me siis paneudutaan datan ja analytiikan maailmaan. Datahan on sinällään varmaan suurin lupaus, mitä digitalisaatiolla on. Me havahduttiin jo toistakymmentä vuotta sitten siihen, että data kasvaa eksponentiaalisesti ja sen mahdollisuudet ehkä vielä jyrkemmällä kulmalla, koska tietysti nykyaikainen data pystyy sisältämään asioita, ei pelkästään niistä transaktioista, mitä me tehdään vaikka asiakkaiden kanssa, vaan myös niistä ajatuksista, mitä ihmiset jakaa sosiaalisessa mediassa, mielipiteistä ja muusta, videoista, kuvasta, kaikesta siitä. Eli datan lupaus on sinällään ääretön. Mutta tietysti se data itsessään ei tee ketään hullua hurskaamaksi, vaan kyllähän meidän pitää pystyä tietysti ymmärtämään ja näkemään se data, eli toisaalta analysoimaan sitä. Ja siinä mielessä onkin aika mielenkiintoista, että tuossa McKinseyn pari vuotta sitten tai 2019 toissa vuonna sitten tekemän tutkimuksen mukaan, niin 92% organisaatioista ilmoittaa, että heillä on vaikeuksia skaalata analytiikkaa. Eli vaan noin 8% ajattelee, että ne pystyy saamaan sen analyyttisen kyvykkyyden sille tasolle, että ne pystyy hyötyä siitä datan tuottamasta edusta. Ja sehän on aika mielenkiintoinen suhde, jos ajatellaan sitä lupausta ja tavallaan realiteettia. Yksi haaste ehkä, mikä dataan on aina liittynyt, on se, että se ei oikein toimi projektiluontoisesti. Et me on esimerkiksi nyt tämän kriisin, minkä keskellä me vielä ollaan, aikana nähty aika hyvin sen, että se tarpeet, mitä dataa pitää ymmärtää, voi vaihdella tosi nopeasti johtuen. Sitten yhtäkkiä kaikki vanha data ei olekaan relevanttia, vaan me pitää pystyä ottaa uusia datasetteja, nopeasti jakaa niitä ihmisille, ehkä luoda uusia malleja niistä ja niin edelleen. Eli tavallaan on ehkä oikein sanoa, että myöskin meidän koko päätöksentekosykli on tavallaan nopeutunut, ja se, miten datan pitää ja analytiikan pitää muokkautua sen kanssa, niin on tietysti äärimmäisen tärkeä osa sitä, jotta me voitaisiin olla menestyksekkäitä sen suhteen. Mutta toisaalta, jos data itsessään ei ole vielä arvokasta, että sun pitää tosiaan nähdä ja ymmärtää se, analysoida sitä, niin tosiaan tietysti sekin, että ei sekä tee vielä meitä kovin viisaaksi, ellei me oikeasti pystytä muuttamaan toimintaamme sen datan avulla. Eli se, että miten se data saadaan ja analytiikka osaksi sitä liiketoimintaa, osaksi niitä prosesseja, niin se on kuitenkin se homma, joka loppuviimeksi määrittelee sen arvon. Ja tämän luomiseksi niin me varmaan pitäisi pystyä luomaan ikään kuin datakulttuuriorganisaation kulttuuri, jossa kaikki olettaakin saavansa dataa riippumatta toimenkuvasta, riippumatta siitä, millä sen datan kanssa on tekemistä. Kaikki olettaa saavansa pääsyn siihen ja sen tuottamaan ikään kuin uuteen insightiin, jota voidaan sitten käyttää sen liiketoiminnan eteenpäin viemiseen. Ja nyt sitten tänään tosiaan nämä 2 asiakasta, mistä me tullaan kuulemaan, niin molemmat lähestyy aika konkreettisella tavalla sitä, että mitä tämä tämmöinen insightti voisi olla. As a courtesy to our guests, I will now switch to English and also let our Finnish-speaking audience a chance to stretch their ears a bit. First, we're going to be hearing from Sandor van den Brink, who's a director of digital sales experience from Schneider. I think a holy grail of analytics is the world where data culture extends the entire company and analytics is really infused into business processes and in the workflows where people spend their daily day. I think Schneider is definitely on a journey of finding that grail, and I think they're very close to it. So it'll be very, very exciting to hear their story here this morning. So please, let's welcome Sandor van den Brink. Sandor, it's all yours.
So thank you, Yuva, for introducing me, and of course, thank you for inviting me to this Salesforce live event. Happy to present you what Schneider Electric is doing and what Schneider Electric has been doing in the past, of course, in terms of digital transformation for our services business. As said, as the title says, I'm leading the digital sales experience for field services within Schneider Electric. And we are connected to Salesforce, of course, and we are using Einstein Analytics to use data to drive business, and that is what I'm going to tell you today. As you can see, just a short story about Schneider Electric. We are powering and digitizing the economy. We have an ambition, let's say, we want to empower to make the most of our energy and make sure that everyone everywhere has energy at every moment. So that's the Schneider philosophy. Some short figures. We have over 135,000 employees. We have a good balance in terms of global presence in the revenue breakdowns all over the world. And I think it's good to see that we also spend 5% of our revenues devoted to R&D. And it's not only R&D in our products, of course, but also in our innovations that we want to drive. As we been working in field services, we used to have a lot of data of our install base. We did not use that data in the past. So we started about, I think it was 6-7 years ago, to collect all these data and to form that into, let's say, usable data that we could use to drive our business. So we convert millions of data points into business opportunity to remove the, let's say, the growth barriers that we have. So the ambition is really to remove those barriers and to be a trusted advisor for our customers. And we did that, of course, with the use of analytics. We have intelligence, sales enablement, but also the customer offers that we want to connect with CPQ, for instance. And all of that is the ambition is to drive or to improve the customer satisfaction. So fast response to our customer in terms of inquiries, but also faster in terms of the response time of an engineer. So we have, let's say, combine that in commercial intelligence is what we call it in field services. So what you can see here is that the daily interactions of our engineers, but not only the engineers, it's the daily interactions that Schneider Electric is doing is causing all these information to gather into our Schneider Data Hub, which is our repository. And you have the outside sales, the inside sales, but also connected assets. We have from the supply chain, of course, we have information. So we collect all these information into our digital platforms. And we use that, so the Schneider Data Hub is our digital platform, and we use that to collect these data and to put that into services, commercial intelligence. We call it an intelligence suite. So we have IB Intel, which is basically IB is install base intelligence. We have an account Cockpit, we have smart platforming, and we have services sales performance dashboard built in Einstein. And how do we secure our growth? So that was the question. How do we increase user adoption and how do we improve customer satisfaction? So that were the challenges that we were facing. And I think that is something, digital adoption is still an issue. Not an issue, but it's still a challenge, of course, every day. But we are doing that by, let's say, driving meaningful sales discussions. So we have the information, what we know from the install base from our customers, and we want to take that information and discuss that with the customers, of course. And if you look into what we have in the salespersons going to the customers where they want to be, but also where they need to be. So we reduce time and effort to prepare opportunities is where we have a 360 cockpit with one overview of the account. We have also the, let's say, to optimize the best, the cost that we have. So not driving to customers where we let's say, where there is no install base, so we don't need to be there. And of course, we have a tool which is prioritizing those customers. So, and also prioritizing the opportunities for the sales rep, and that is what we've been working on in the past period, so in the past years, I must say. And how we do that is that we are, let's say, creating the tools to secure and increase and improve our goals, our ambitions, and our growth path, of course. So we have to drive meaningful sales discussions, reduce time and effort. And how do we do that? We have to prioritize, of course, the opportunities. How do we do that? We leverage data through artificial intelligence and the smooth sales user experience. So it's all about, it's not all about the, let's say, the end customer experience, but it's also because in digital, as I can say, my customers are the salespersons from Schneider Electric, and that, let's say, user experience also needs to be on a good level. And so what we did is we used digital innovations to drive the sales and services operations. And that means that we have created or provided tools for them with the use of Salesforce, of course, but also with the use of Einstein Analytics, or Tableau CRM as it is called now. And we use those to give the field services sales community a tool where they can drive, let's say, or detect opportunities from. And so what we did is we have an IB Intel, which we call the install base Intel, which is a customer report, which is presenting, let's say, a 360 overview, 360 degrees overview of the install base, but also the attention and risk points that we see for our customers. So as you can see here in the dashboard, you will see some green, orange, and red parts, and those parts are important for the discussion with the end user, because the red parts are install base risks that we see based on the information that we have, that we collected, and so we can give the customer a good overview of what we think that needs to be either modernized, needs to be maintained, or needs to be renewed, let's say, or where there is a services contract needed. So that gives us the possibility to be a trusted advisor for the customer, because they will say, okay, you know what I have as an install base, what are my risks? So we can do an assessment on his total infrastructure. But it's good to use that as well into driving discussions with the C-level and build, let's say, an OPEX plan for services with the recommendations that we can use for this specific customer. So we use that to create a customized business plan with, of course, an investment plan or an investment plan that we see for the future. And we can do that in the first year, but we can also see that in, let's say, 8 years when there is going to be an investment needed. So the customer can also plan their budgets on that one. So that's IB Intel. We also have an account cockpit where we want to reduce the time of the sales and the effort of the sales to prepare an opportunity. You can go into the account cockpit and narrow down to a specific customer, and that can be either the customer at headquarter levels, but it can also be a customer which is, let's say, a child of the headquarters, where you can drill down on which opportunities do I have. What is the install base looking like? Did we have any visits? So it's very good to see in one overview the customer interactions and activities that we have done before, and support in preparing that customer interaction. So what is new, what's happening, what is hot for the customer, and that is instantly reacting to that customer query. So he calls you, he has a question, and you can instantly see what is happening at the customer site. So it's very good to see the open cases and to work orders. And we have different tabs on the top of the dashboard, as you can see, with all kinds of subjects that we want to highlight for that specific customer 360 overview. What is good is that we have customers, of course, and we know from a lot of customers the install base, and we want to tackle that using, let's say, to drive the cost optimization for our sales, and to make sure that they are spending the right time with the customers that they, let's say, need to be. Because a customer without install base or without, well, we do not have knowledge, of course, but we are prioritizing those customers using Einstein. So we have built an algorithm which is classifying a customer in 9 different boxes, or in number 10, which we call the gray zone, which is for us, as to say, based on the knowledge that we have, a non-prioritized customer. So we can drive the sales of field services to go into the direction of qualifying accounts, growing an account, or saturating account in terms of what kind of potential do we see, what kind of interest do we see with the customer. And that's how we tag the customers in Salesforce, and we give them a classification, and that is also driving the, let's say, the number of visits that we want to do with one of these customers, of course, or with all the customers that we see. So we use that. And we also use that to drive our partner business. So we see there is a lot of sites. This is an example. There is 6,000 sites in Q1, which is qualifying a customer maybe for the first time, or there is a little revenue at the moment. But we can also work together with partners and to drive a partner engagement with this specific customer, and to also give the business to our partners if we want to. So that is on the smart platforming, and of course all of that is creating opportunities. So even in where I've told you before in the account cockpit, we have a backend on Intel DS, and from the account cockpit we can easily drive the customer opportunity creation. So normally you have to create manually an opportunity. We have built a tool behind it that is for the sales able to filter down or to narrow down on the customer query and say, okay, this is what we just have discussed. You have a risk on these 10 assets, and with a single click of in an Einstein Analytics, you can create, if you want, 10 opportunities or 20 or even 500. And you can create those opportunities, which is using the platforming that we have. So, the prioritization and allocation to a salesperson is that we can also assign those opportunities to individual salespersons handling those accounts. So I think it's very connected to each other. And what we also use is the new feature from Einstein Discovery, is that we are using artificial intelligence to predict, let's say, a machine learning with the use of historical data. So what is the predicted win rate of this opportunity? So also there we prioritize our customers, of course, but we can also prioritize the opportunities that we create from the system, and where we can see that this is helping us to make sure that the salesperson is spending the right time in the right opportunity. So that's important to us, because we don't want to spend a lot of time on maybe predicted win rate opportunities with 10%, but we want to focus our time on those that have a near close date, but also have a high chance to win. And that is, we use the recommendations. We use recommendations to tell the salesperson to make an appointment with the purchaser, to make sure we have a price, or to make sure that we know what the end user is, if this is a partner business one. And we can classify them into high, medium, and low. And so that is helping us and supporting us in driving our business in field services and making sure that we focus on the right thing. So for us, it's the best cost to serve, but it also increases our customer satisfaction, and that is very important to Schneider Electric. So we use all these tools to do that, and of course you can see here that we have built an API which is here, and that is giving you the guidance and actions that you need to do. So you can move it to another stage, or you can assign it to another sales rep. This is stage 2, but in stage 3, it will give you a recommendation. You need to find the end user. So that's how we use artificial intelligence in our systems. And of course, there is, the sales needs to be, let's say, also followed, but also for the sales to follow themselves. So we've created the suite of, let's say, a digital assistant that is giving you the possibility to use your data to create opportunities. We use data to have, sorry, I need to go to the one slide back. This is the information where you have smart platforming, sales enablement. We have an account cockpit for the overview, and that's what we call the services commercial intelligence suite. And if we go on to the next one, you can see from our journey, what we started about 6 years ago is we have one platform to consult our data. So for us, it's fast and reliable. It's even I must say, and I must admit, Einstein is even faster than Salesforce creating a report, so you can easily use the lenses. It only takes us 1 day to generate 500 plus opportunities if we want, versus what you normally, if we would say, okay, we take 21 days to create 500 opportunities manually, so we can easily drive campaigns towards that. We have a success rate of between 50 and 20% of the opportunities, so from leads to order, which is a very good result as we measured, let's say, the traditional campaigns where we only had a 2% success rate. We have execute, let's say, the account prioritizations. It's only in minutes. There is an account prioritization, let's say the global sales are using, but then we have to answer 8 questions per customers. And that is taking a lot of time because we are across all the customers that we have. In services, we normally don't own the accounts. We serve them, and we serve them across all the platforms and all the business units. So for us, that's an easy task or an easy exercise that we need to do. So we can just prioritize a complete country within minutes, and that's what we need to have. We can expand the sales coverage. So we went from 50,000 sites covered by a service salesperson to 130 last year, and now we are even exceeding that into 170,000 sites that we directly covered with our sales field service sales, and which is also including the partner involvement. So we are also covering the accounts with the partners that we have. So we can assign them to a partner, and then the opportunity, we can direct that to the partner if we need it. So for us, it's 5 times top line revenue impact in 1 year only. So it was a lot of opportunities created, a lot of business won, of course. And I think that we made a success of it. And I think 90% of the pipeline that we have is really with our platform or covered accounts, as we call them. And that is for us important, as we only spend 8% of our time with customers which do not have a what we call a blue or white prioritization. So for us, that's what we have. I think that is about my story. Happy to receive any questions that you might have, of course, and happy to explain and collaborate further with you, Johan. Back to you.
Wow, that's actionable analytics if I ever saw one. It's amazing, Sander. Thanks a lot for sharing the story of Schneider. And as you can see from this one, analytics is not a project, it's a culture. And the way you guys have been able to do this thing is just amazing. And I know there's plenty more where that came from. So really looking forward to hearing more about your adventures in the future. So thanks again for being part of our show today. Thank you, Sander. Next, we're actually going to go to another exciting customer. We're going to talk to Markus Velin from Telia Crowd Insights, who's going to talk us about that how they are able to base insights based on data that they then infuse to all applications, all products that they have for their customers, and how they're using the embedded Tableau solution to drive the visual analytics to their clients. So really looking forward to this discussion. So please, let's have Markus on stage with me. Hey Markus, welcome to Salesforce Live.
Thank you very much.
Hey, can we hear a little bit more about Telia Crowd Insights? What is it that you guys do, and what's your team's role in all that?
Well, we basically bring location intelligence to market based on the data that Telia is already handling. But Crowd Insights is sitting within Data Insights, which is then also part of Division X. And our whole purpose is basically to be the X factor to Telia, to bring new kinds of services, both of course within Data Insights, but also within IoT, digital health, and so on. So we're bringing these new kind of capabilities and offerings to the market through wider Telia, but being a bit standalone so we can innovate and be really fast and agile.
Wow, X factor inside business. I love that. Hey, I've been told that you guys have probably the largest data infrastructure in all of digitalized world in Nordics or something like that. Can you talk a bit about the kind of data you're dealing with?
Certainly. I mean, Telia the wider Telia is handling a huge amount of data every day. Some we need to store for e-privacy, for GDPR reasons, for others for building and optimizing our network. So it's really a huge amount of data. The data that we handle within Crowd Insights is a subset of that. So we're only allowed to handle very little data in order to stay compliant with GDPR and to fully protect users' anonymity and privacy. So we actually handle just 3 columns of data. We look at timestamps with radio cells attached to them. And we look at around 4.8 billion timestamps every day, and of course in the whole of our footprint. But it's really just those timestamps combined with our coverage maps that enable us to create this kind of location intelligence about how population is moving around in different countries.
Wow, so you're basically creating a business out of 3 columns of data. That's interesting. Hey, can you talk us a little bit about the solution you've been putting together? What's the journey been like and what you guys have been up to?
Well, we started as an innovation project in 2016. And through the years, we've been progressing with the first customers in Finland and Sweden in 2017. And then after those successful customer pilots and projects, we got the confidence to become our own business unit. And in 2018, we scaled up really, growing from servers to an on-cloud solution, and then just kept on scaling all the way into 2020, of course. But the solution has always been really the same. It is movement data. Where are they stationary and how do they move around? We've always been focusing on making sure that we do this with the user's privacy and integrity in mind. So it's always, of course, fully anonymized and fully aggregated so that no one can be re-identified in the data set. And we always look at groups. We're not interested in individuals. We only use those 3 columns of data to create this insight of where are more than 5 people moving around or being stationary. And when we have that, we of course extrapolate it up to the full population, because no one is really interested in the Telia market share. We're interested to see what the population is doing and drawing insights from that. But it's really those 2 components. How many people have been in the area? Where do they come from? How are they moving around? And that's been really the solution.
Yeah, and Tableau has been part of the journey all along, has it, Tori?
Certainly. I mean, we started very early on with creating insights based on our data. We don't want it to be just in the data business. We want it to be in the insight and climbing higher up in the value chain. Tableau was there from the start, really, with enabling us to send customers workbooks or allow them to download workbooks with the actual insights. And after a quick while, we saw as if we want to create more scalable offerings, we need some form of way to distribute them to customers who are not so data savvy, but they still know how to compare, analyze, and draw results from data, but they don't know how to work with it. And Tableau Online really came in there as a great solution for us. After a while, we started seeing that, okay, we need more and more users, we need more and more data. I think we're having 0.8 terabytes of data now in our storage. So it's quite a lot, and we needed to move on actually to an on-server solution. Customers, though, they still consume our data through the online interface, and they're very happy about doing that, because it's that simplicity has really reduced the threshold for getting customers in, and allowing them to have a great user experience as well. Not only to get the data, but really to quickly, with a nice, beautiful user experience, consume the data, compare, and have very little time to from purchase actually to start consuming the insight.
Cool. Hey, can we talk a little bit about the problems or use cases that your customers are solving with the solution?
Certainly. We like to talk about that the smart society needs data. You need to take a lot of data-driven decisions to become smarter. But today you basically have the decision to go with either statistics, which is often very fixed or not updated as frequent, or you do quite expensive surveys. Of course, some customers have these kind of loyalty clubs in retail and so on, which has a little bit more information about their customers, but they rarely don't see what's outside of their business. And this is where Telia is coming in, both, for example, to smarter public transport, to see how people move around without doing very expensive surveys, but also in retail to be able to compare locations with each other. Usually a retailer is very dependent on the real estate owner to know how many people are in the area on a day-to-day, and the real estate owners do it quite differently. And many of the Nordic chains, they operate in many countries, and they would like one way to really compare the data. So, for example, if you're negotiating rent, which in these days could be quite a tough challenge, you might have had some decreasing visitors, decreasing revenue, and so on. So you want to really decrease the rent cost for your retail location. Having this unbiased data, which allows you to compare different locations, maybe invest in one or close down another or open up in a new area, using unbiased data about the number of visitors to an area could be really powerful and really targeting the biggest cost, for example, for retailers. Or in public transport, you can optimize the most busy routes or add new routes where you see fit based on the travel needs.
Good. I've been told that we might have a chance of taking a look at some of this, that you'd be able to show us a demo.
Certainly, I will try to do that. I will show a demo now from our Retail Insights, which is based on our Telia stores. So Telia has a huge list of stores here across Sweden, but also, of course, across the other countries. And in this view, we're analyzing our own Telia stores, but we can actually analyze the locations where our competitors' store are actually at as well. And this is something that we allow our customers to do as well, to define their competitors. But now I'm looking at 3 of Telia stores, which is in the central part of Stockholm, the eastern and the western part. So the Fältöversten and the Västermalmsgalleria and just the Galleria over here. And we can see that these areas have thousands of visitors every day. The biggest one, Gallerian, around 24,000, while as Västermalmsgallerian only have around 19,000, and a bit less than in the Fältöversten with only 14,000. So here we can quickly see the difference in the visitor numbers, but also there's very clear differences in the trend. So here you have this kind of commuting situation where a lot of people flow in during the day and then go home during the evening, while as the east and west location here has more of a stable situation with more residents in the area. So more shorter visits here in the central part and more longer visits out in the eastern and western part. And then we can also actually look at the catchment area. So where are people coming from to these locations? And it will take a second to load. It's quite a massive data set. But the idea here is that you should be able to analyze the uptake area. And then if we put them on top of each other, we see that the central location has really the biggest uptake area and is more sort of dominant than the other uptakes area. But if we split them, we can actually see the difference in uptake for all the different locations. And this kind of tool, as I mentioned, you can use when either trying to expand. You can, perhaps if you have a chain in one country and want to expand into another one, you can find a location which perhaps has a lot of short visits, because short visits really is impacting your sales positively. Maybe also you can look at the demographic, the visit type, and so forth, and do this kind of comparison. But then if you're in a tough negotiation with your real estate owner, you might want to go in and do a year-over-year comparison in the compare periods function over here. and say, okay, the visitors in the area are only increasing 5%, but you want to increase the rent with 10%, and perhaps you can find some argumentation in that towards the rent increase that might be coming. So this is just some examples from the retail space of use cases that you can do. And as you can see, this is really from Tableau Online, but it's hosted on a server, but this is what our customers consume. And we really love the flexibility that Tableau has brought into this area, because we like to design our dashboards so that anyone who's comfortable with really Google Maps or something similar to that, being able to look at a few graphs, should be able to use these dashboards and our services. And we've really seen that a lot of customers really appreciate this, the simplicity of things, just being able to click around, normal kind of filtration, sorting, and so on. And it's really brought these insights out into the masses and not really with the data savvy few, so to speak.
That's just amazing. Hey, to wrap up, could we just talk a little bit about the business value that you've been able to get so far and the impact that the solution has been able to make within your customers and obviously you?
Well, I would say that the business value, you can divide that into three. The first one is really exposure. We've been really amazed by the exposure in media that we've had over the last year. But I think it's because we bring this kind of neutral data to the market with our weekly reports about the average number of trips and activities so on in the Nordic countries. It has added a lot of value to be able to visualize that kind of data to the market. But of course, we also bring a lot of stickiness to our existing customers. They used to see us as this kind of basic service provider with certain services, but now we bring a whole new insight service to the market, and it's bringing something very new to them, and they really appreciate that kind of data, because especially the public organization have a lack of data, and the data savviness is quite low. So bringing that stickiness to our existing customer base is also extremely valuable, I would say. And finally, we are of course bringing revenue. We're on a 2x journey right now, but we're hoping to increase that even more, so we're scaling even faster. But we're definitely bringing a lot of revenue to the table, but it also takes time to grow. I mean, you need to put a lot of things in place, and I think our journey emphasizes that. But we're always here to scale up the business.
Good. Thank you, Marcus. Such an exciting use case, such an exciting application, and a use of data in this era. So thanks so much for being with us on Salesforce Live, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you very much. Have a good day.
No niin, tämä datan ja analytiikan Salesforce Live-osio alkaa olla lopussa, mutta Salesforce Live kyllä vielä jatkuu. Muistakaa, että hashtagillä Salesforce Live Suomi teillä on mahdollisuus edelleen kommentoida, jakaa ajatuksia muiden kanssa sosiaalisessa mediassa, ja tehkää sitä. Nyt hetken päästä pidetään tauko, ja sen jälkeen kello 12 ohjelma jatkuu. Seuraavaksi Kone ja PostNord juttelee asiakaspalvelu- ja asiakaskokemuksen digitalisoitumisesta. Sen jälkeen me tullaan iltapäivän mukaan kuulemaan myöskin Postin ja F-Securen tarinaa IT:n ja digitalisaation haasteista viime aikoina. Ja koko päivän sitten kruunaa kello 15 Mikko Koponen Finlaysonilta, joka juttelee asiakaskeskeisestä johtamisesta kansainvälisessä yrityksessä. Kiitos kun olette ollut mukana, ja tavataan taas uudestaan.